Ethilive, the compliance podcast. Hosted by William Fegère. Hello and welcome back to Ethilive, the podcast dedicated to compliance, ethics and business criminal law. This episode, and certainly others to come, will be in English. We will indeed talk about a document that's just been published by the French Anti-Corruption Agency entitled Practical Guide, Gifts and Hospitality Policy in Private and Public Sectors, Corporations and Non-Profit. It is the translation into English of a guide that has been published in French in 2020, explaining what the agency considers to be good practices to be implemented to prevent the risk of corruption. The introduction reminds it, this guide is not legally binding in any way. It suggests guidelines to help organizations. However, it is quite clear that the agency's controllers, when assessing the policies deployed by the company, will have this guide in mind. Its publication and translation into English is not insignificant. It shows that the agency wants it to be widely spread, understood, and followed. The French agency regularly publishes documents. It is mandated by law to publish recommendations explaining what is expected in application of the anti-corruption law. These recommendations concern the core of the anti-corruption law, notably the commitment of managers in the fight against corruption, risk mapping, whistleblowing systems, third-party evaluation procedures, accounting procedures, and employee trainings. The agency also publishes practical guides designed to clarify specific points, 3 of which have been published in English: one on the anti-corruption compliance function, one on anti-corruption due diligence for mergers and acquisitions, and finally, the one we're discussing today on gifts and invitations. The subject of gifts allows us to return briefly to what distinguishes corruption and bribery. To corrupt means to destroy or pervert the integrity or fidelity of a person. There is here a general notion of conflict of interest, of defiance. Something is rotten, to quote Hamlet. Bribery refers to the receiving or offering of an undue reward in order to influence a behavior and incline to act contrary to the known rules of honesty and integrity. Bribery is the trigger to corrupt. A guide on gifts is therefore particularly interesting because it will make it possible to respond to concrete situations which companies and their employees are confronted with, and which are too often considered to be of low significance. Everybody does it. It's a cost of doing business. It doesn't really matter. Nobody gets hurt. However, the problem with gifts is often that of a spiral from which it may be impossible to escape. An employee will accept a gift from a supplier, case of wine, invitation to a good restaurant. It is forbidden by the company, but they've known each other for so long. They're almost friends. What's the problem as long as the employee does not favor this supplier afterwards? Well, the supplier knows it's forbidden. He can ask for a favor in exchange of his silence, then another favor, and another, and when would it end? The vicious circle is set in motion. The employee no longer knows how to get out of it. These are the people that gift policies are designed to protect. Obviously not those who are dishonest and perfectly aware all along that they are. No policy will ever prevent them from doing so, convinced as they are that they will never be caught. In practice, this means that the gift policy should, of course, include concrete examples of situations that the employees may face. Preferably examples located in that grey and even light grey area where one hesitates, one balances between refusal and agreement. The agency gives guides and examples, but each company must then adapt them to its own activity, to the situations it has detected in its risk mapping. From my own experience, I will add that the policy must also include a compassionate, understanding dimension. You can make a mistake. You can be wrong. You should, however, not hesitate to reveal it before it gets out of hand. The employee who acknowledges his or her fault may be punished, will be, certainly, but the punishment will take into account the spontaneous nature of the disclosure. Such openness is in the company's interest. It shows that it has a firm but balanced policy, and there is less risk that such situations will continue, which would only increase the company's damage. As always in compliance, principles are only effective if they're aligned with reality, which is mostly human. Thank you again for following us on Ethilive. Bye.